Welcome everyone to this afternoon's study session from Mesa City Council for Monday, January 14th, 2013. We'll begin today's meeting with a review of tonight's regular council meeting agenda. Page 2, items 3A through 3C. Item 3D through 4A.
Mayor and Council. I just want to point out that we have item number 3F, Chubby Hubby Barbecue, back on the agenda. They did come in and pay their application fees, so everything is fine with us at this point.
Okay, thank you. I think my wife suggested that number, that name. Items 4B through 4D. 4E through 4G. (4H) through 4J. (4K) through 4M. (4N) through 4P. (4Q) through 4S. (4T) through 5A. And 5B through 7A. Remind me why 7A was pulled off consent? You pulled it? I don't remember that happening, so.
Happens after, through staff.
Um, Yeah,
In that case, I request it be pulled off the
Okay.
consent agenda.
all right, yeah, that's easier way to do that. Okay, is there a reason why that's off consent?
Which one?
The 7A?
Yeah, I requested it be pulled off consent.
I mean,
Just now.
is there a reason that we need to know about?
Oh, the applicant we'll talk about it a little bit more upstairs, but the applicant is currently finishing a sentence for DUI.
Okay. And that was brought up last time, so what's the status of that? I mean, maybe I'd like to know a little bit about what our options are and how that factors in.
Mayor and Council, there's no change since then. Right now, the applicant is on, or was convicted of DUI. They served their jail time and they're on an interlock device, and we understand that that is due to fall off in February of 2013. So they're just completing that. They just haven't completed everything yet. But at this point in time, they're compliant with everything. They just haven't completed the interlock device requirement because that's running through February 2013.
Okay, I guess I'm not, just so you know, how does something like that relate to the State Liquor Board and the application?
I've had the opportunity, Mayor, to speak directly with Alan Everett, who is the director of the State Liquor Board. I also had the opportunity to talk to one of the past chairmen of the State Liquor Board of Appeals. In speaking with Mr. Everett, he said that when we look at the applications that we as a city are making a recommendation to him or to the board, and that recommendation could look at that the applicant for a new liquor license bears the burden of demonstrating his or her capability, qualification, reliability. Also, in addition, the applicant bears the burden of demonstrating granting the license is in the best interest of a community. My objection here and my concern here is that, first of all, I'm pleased that she's doing well in completing her term, that term will be completed in February, and that my hope, but I have a difficulty for somebody who's currently completing their sentence in a DUI, authorizing or giving my recommendation that that person receive a liquor license. So in my conversation with Mr. Everett, what he had recommended that we could do is recommend denial and authorize staff to withdraw the protest upon completion of the sentence, which would be the removal of the interlock device, which occurs in mid-February. And authorize them to send a letter to Mr. Everett and the chairman of the liquor board,
Right.
a courtesy copy of that person, removing our protest, and then Mr. Everett would then have the authority to issue the liquor license at that time. So that would be what I would
No,
prefer to do upstairs.
All right, no, I understand that, and that's a good reason to pull it off the consent, thank you. But just to get a little bit more information, not pretending to be an expert on liquor license. When we recommend denial, that's just a statement. It's up to the state liquor board. Am I correct on that?
Correct, Mayor.
We cannot take any unilateral action that would force the hand of the liquor board, or can we?
No, you cannot.
Correct.
You are
Okay.
simply making a recommendation to the liquor board. And under the statute, if you're going to recommend denial, you have to have a specific basis for that denial.
All right, okay.
Mayor, maybe Tim, give us a little more background too, because we'll make sure the council understands the situation. She's seeking a liquor license, but she currently has an interim
Aren't
license?
they open for,
They are-
are they not selling liquor now?
Okay.
They are selling liquor now. They have an interim permit, so they are selling liquor right now. And they may
What do you have to do to get an interim permit?
petition the liquor board to, or the Department of Liquor License. You just need to petition them for that.
Okay,
And
and
they-
say,
Correct.
we're gonna open this up,
And
and
we
they
would like
give
to
you a
serve.
temporary,
Correct.
and then assuming that you go through, then that temporary turns into a permanent. If it doesn't, then that temporary would expire. I'm
Correct,
assuming.
and that expires on March 31st if they don't
Oh,
complete
okay.
this.
Right. So,
Okay.
if I may, Mayor.
Yeah, go ahead.
So, my objection is that since she's finishing her term, I would prefer, plus it provides an incentive to make sure that the applicant finishes their sentence, does it well, the interlock device is removed, and I believe in second chances. So that's why we'll make a motion upstairs that we authorize staff that once that's removed, we send a letter over to Mr. Everett and recommend that that the applicant then receive it at that point, or remove our protest.
If you could, okay, remove our protest.
Correct.
When is this, doesn't the liquor board, though, act upon it? Or do they wait? Or I'm just a little bit confused as to,
Typically, if the council recommends approval, the board, actually, the director can approve the liquor license without setting it for hearing if they receive no protests or
Okay.
no objections to it. If the city council recommends denial, they will schedule it for a hearing, and they will accept testimony and evidence at that time, and then they will make a decision. Now, as Vice Mayor Summers said, he had a conversation with someone from the board and gave him that information. Typically, in the administrative code, something like this is not expressly set out as one of the bases for the city council's criteria. But this is the information he received from the chairman of the board. And you can certainly provide any information you choose, but it's not one of the criteria expressly set out.
The director of the
in the
department,
code.
to be
Yeah.
clear.
Thank you.
now, I mean, I guess we could file a protest on every liquor license and think we had a valid reason. It's whether they would accept or not.
Correct.
I mean, we're not precluded. We can take whatever action we feel is correct, but whether that has validity or not would then be decided. Okay, yeah, Councilman Richens?
I really think the bigger policy question here is why is the state liquor board granting temporary licenses to people with DUIs? That's really the question this really hinges on. It's not whether or not we're going to grant a liquor license. They're going to get their liquor license eventually. But a temporary license was granted, and as far as I understand, they don't have to even disclose that they have a DUI if that is. Can anybody
Well-
verify that that's not, is that a question that they asked specifically? And would that information normally be disclosed to us?
Yeah, Mayor, Councilmember Richens, it's on the state liquor license application.
Okay.
So that is disclosed. They're being asked, and they need to disclose it to us. That would be.
Does it ask specifically a DUI, or does it ask
It-
for any criminal type?
It asks for any criminal violations within the
so-
last 5 years.
Yeah,
And the
so-
statute says if they've had a felony conviction in the past 5 years, they are not eligible for a liquor license.
But we
This
don't-
was not a felony conviction, is my understanding. It was a misdemeanor.
It is.
And
Yeah.
felonies we wouldn't see because they would just deny that
Right,
in the
correct.
application
Correct.
process.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to forward that question to them, is why, do you grant licenses, even temporary licenses to somebody that has a DUI until it's been fully adjudicated? until
We
that
can ask,
process.
we can ask
Yeah.
that question.
I mean, that should be the policy question that we're,
Well, the question is it in their discretion, or the law says, here's the steps? I mean, you know, this is why this whole thing is perplexing to me, because we're getting into state liquor policy, which we don't have anything to do with. I mean, it's set by code, by statute, by the legislature, and, you know, we can throw out things that I guess are circumstances that affect the community, but, you know,
You know
we
what?
have to live with the ramifications of liquor in our community. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, and so I think having sound policy governing that is an important discussion to have. You know, generally, we give liquor license out, you know, without a lot of discretion. And
well, we don't give any,
trusting-
we don't
well,
give any liquor
right,
licenses out,
right.
that's the thing.
We give our
Recommendation.
blessing, a recommendation. But, you know, I think it's an important thing to ask that question about, you know, if you have proven that on a personal basis, you're having a hard time with managing your liquor consumption and driving, you know, how can you show that you're not going to do the same thing in our community was for somebody else? Somebody else is going to be drinking, you're not going to, you know, keep an eye on that patron goes out and drives on our roads. We have to deal with that ramification. It's just an important consideration. I think Councilmember Summer brings up a good point.
And I understand what you're saying. I think the thing is, and what I would be wondering about is this a discussion that's been had? And if it's not addressed at the state level, what impact would we have other than pointing out that this seems to be a gap in their policy? I mean,
It is.
I think that's correct, Mayor.
okay, so really our action would, because based on what we're seeing, it doesn't look like it's a specific item in state liquor law.
Correct.
With state liquor law is state liquor policy, so if we were to say something like this, it would be, I don't want to say nothing more, because they could take it into account, but actually it would just be putting them on notice that we see this as an issue, as a problem. Okay.
Yes.
All right. Just want some clarification. It's good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Still don't.
Didn't help, did it?
No, it is. I mean, once again, I get it in the extreme cases, but, you know, most things, my experience has been, and I've talked to others, that the state liquor board basically, I don't want to say ignores, but state liquor law trumps, and how much input we really have is questionable, and except for in extreme situations, and usually in extreme situations, it never gets that far, because you have someone with a felony or something. And it's something I've struggled with.
Well, to grant a denial is an important message as part of that, even though what you said is true. Granting a denial on the council level triggers an automatic review or trial
Yeah,
of that.
no, I get that.
thing, and that's important, because then they do dive in and have tighter scrutiny on an applicant, and that's still.
Well, but I guess, and I understand, but I guess what I'm looking at is if it's not in the state liquor policy, because right now they grant temporary liquor, and obviously it's not a factor, because they granted it.
And I think it should be.
But but you don't set the policy, neither do I.
Right, well, that's why.
And,
When we have this discussion, I mean, that's something that we should be asking of the state liquor board.
And so, and that's the thing, I think we have to go forward understanding that if it's not in their policy and it's not in the statute, we'll put them on notice that, I agree, I'm a little bit perplexed why that wouldn't be, but it doesn't seem like it is, so.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll talk about it some more.
Okay.
Okay? Yeah, we don't have to decide now, I just want the background as to why it was pulled off. Thank you. Okay. Next item is to acknowledge receipt of minutes in various boards and committees. Motion by the Vice Mayor, second by Councilmember Kavanaugh. All in favor, say aye. Motion carries. Here reports on meetings and conferences attended. Councilmember Kavanaugh.
Thank you, Mayor. Last Thursday through Saturday, I attended the winter board meetings of the National League of Cities. We had briefings at the White House from administration officials, including Secretary LaHood, talking about the administration's priorities in terms of transportation, immigration, and the issues of gun violence. And I think those issues will also take priority with National League of Cities as well, offering its input on impacts on local governments there. Also wanted to comment that that Mesa was congratulated for having such a strong participation in National League of Cities, with all of our council members engaged in work with NLC. Thank you.
Good, thank you. Anything else? Vice Mayor.
Mayor, I attended the Municipal Tax Code Commission, absolutely riveting. Why they don't televise these things, I have no idea. But in this particular meeting, Phoenix's ordinance was, access to care ordinance was raised, and the Municipal Tax Code Commission was asked to approve it. What the access to care will do is due to reductions in Medicaid funding, a number of folks have come off the Medicaid rolls and therefore do not have access to health care, but yet they still access emergency services and healthcare services through the hospitals, who are looking at significant losses due to that. The legislature did put in play a way for cities to work with hospitals to come up to be able to access the pool of money that exists at the federal level, but we just no longer will have, the hospitals wouldn't have, because of Medicare cuts, Medicaid cuts, won't have access to it. So Phoenix's ordinance allows access to that, but needed to be approved by the commission. The commission supported it unanimously, so Phoenix will be moving forward with their ordinance.
Good, thank you. Anything else? Mr. Brady?
Thank you, Mayor. Just a reminder, we have a study session on Thursday, January 17th at 7:30 a.m. And then this Saturday, January 19th, from 8:30 to noon will be the Mesa Grande Cultural Center grand opening. So I invite everybody to come out to that. It's going to be a wonderful visitor center facility. I think that it'll be a great asset for our communities. Long time in coming. So we invite everybody to come out. Oh, and that will include a pancake breakfast. Sorry, I almost forgot. That will include the pancake breakfast. So again, this Saturday, 8:30 to noon.
Okay, thank you. Vice Mayor?
On the meetings, I will not be here Thursday. I will be attending an NLC event in San Diego, which will be a Homeland Security conference, or I'm sorry, consortium. So I will not be at the study session.
Is there anyone else who will not be here Thursday? Okay. Yeah. I know, I'm not.
Oh. Okay. I'm it?
That's okay with everybody.
Well,
We went from vice mayor. Are you appointing him?
that's, yeah,
Okay, I wasn't
that's why I
sure.
was asking.
Okay.
I'll talk to him afterwards.
Okay.
So let's talk afterwards.
I know how to do it.
Yeah, I know you know how to do it. There is a protocol, okay? All right, there's nothing else? Have a motion from Councilmember Kavanaugh, a second from Councilmember Higgins. All in favor, say aye. We're adjourned. See you upstairs.
Go with those.